So, the common folk of medieval Wales were not only used as labourers, but they were also conscripted to fight on behalf of the nobility. The Welsh bards would often compose poetry that was really propaganda, urging local populations to fight on behalf of one lord or another. And we see this very clearly during the Wars of the Roses. I've just got to make sure that it's actually working. Yeah, it's working. Ah, no, it's not working. Yes, it's working. So, the Wars of the Roses, you all probably have a loose grasp on what happened. Fought between the houses of York and Lancaster. At the very end, it was fought between Richard III and Henry Tudor. Now, Henry Tudor was actually of Welsh descent. His grandfather was a minor Welsh nobleman from Anglesey. And it's quite likely that he actually was well connected in Wales. Now, by 1483, Richard is on the throne. But his ascent to power was so devious and underhanded that he began actually losing support and goodwill. Now, the Lancastrians saw this as perhaps their last opportunity to win the throne back. So they sent for the young Harry Tudur, the young Henry Tudor, who was at the time exiled in France. Now, in 1485, in the summer, Henry Tudor makes his way up through South Wales. He begins here, that's Mill Bay, just outside of Milford Haven. He journeys up, he stops off here in Aberteifi before going on up to Machynlleth. And in Machynlleth, he stops off for a very particular reason. He goes to see a very important man. And the chap he goes to see was Dafydd Llwyd of Mathafarn. Mathafarn Hall is still there it is, in Llanurin, just outside of Machynlleth. Now, Dafydd Llwyd was a nobleman, but he was also a court bard. He was a trained bard llys. And he wasn't just any old court bard, he practiced a very specialised form of Welsh poetry, which was known as canu bryd. He was a bridiwr, he was a prophecy poet. Now, prophecy poetry in Wales, it was a genre of poetry that had been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. But it wasn't prophecy poetry in the sense of people actually being able to read the future. It was political prophecy. It was essentially political propaganda. The prophecy poetry that the court bards were composing focused uniquely on the figure of the Mab Darogan, the son of prophecy. A hero that would arise amongst the Welsh to save them from their oppressors. Now, Henry Tudor knew that if he could get Dafydd Llwyd to proclaim him to be the son of prophecy, he would win widespread support amongst the Welsh. Now, there is a local folktale in Machynlleth about this event. We can imagine that Henry Tudor has spent the evening drinking wine, sophisticated conversation, listening to some beautiful harp music. And over dinner, he turns to Dafydd Llwyd and out of the blue just says, "So, Dafydd, you're a prophet. Who's it going to be at the Battle of Bosworth? Is it going to be me, or will it be that dastardly Richard III?" Caught unawares, Dafydd Llwyd mumbled a little bit and said, "Well, I will meditate upon this matter this evening, and I'll give you the answer in the morning." "Fine," said Henry. That evening, while Henry Tudor was snugly tucked up in bed, Dafydd Llwyd was pacing up and down his bedroom, pulling at his big grey beard, harumphing to himself, "Harumph! I can't come to bed, wife. I mean, I've got this prophecy to compose. I mean, this is the future King of England we're talking about. If I get it wrong, he can have my head."
David, look, it's very easy. You tell him he's going to win, and he wins. Great. You tell him he's going to win, and he gets his head cut off. He's not going to come and chop your head off, is he?
Very wise. And that's what Dafydd Llwyd did. David Llwyd did go on to compose poetry proclaiming Henry Tudor to be the new son of prophecy. As a result, Henry did win widespread support amongst the Welsh. He had lots of connections in the Welsh aristocracy, being essentially one of them. He gained troops, he gained food, people would herd their cattle right next to Bosworth Field so they could feed the troops. And we do have one very interesting poem that David Llwyd composed to be performed in front of the Welsh troops just before they dashed off into battle at Bosworth to give life and limb for Henry Tudor. Now, it's a rousing call and response. There's Bosworth. I'm going to play the part of David Llwyd, so you can picture me with a big pointy hat with stars and moons and suns on it. And you guys are going to play the Welsh rabble on their way to be slaughtered at Bosworth Field. So all you have to do is repeat after me the italicised lines when they arise in the poem. Okay?
No.
Okay. Okay?
Okay.
Dewi cherwydau dos yr iaith, dyfod maer yw adfyd maith, terman hyfian! Trwm anhyfion! Dir i Gymru rhag drwy Gymraint, draw dyfoli, drud o feiliant, a gwylio'r naint! A galw arnom! Llawer gweddi rhag llwyr goddau, a blin oeddyn heblen oddau, digyrin rhoddau! Dwgnin rhyddion! A sawl sydd a fi ac a fydd, pawb oedd pob dydd i'n rhoi yn rhydd, at bab y ffydd! Aeth pawb a'i ffordd! Dyma'r amser y dawr ymswr, y dewr yn ddig a dyr neu ddwr, enwi swr! O'r ynys hon! And that's the point at which you dash off into battle to die on behalf of Henry Tudor. It's sad to note that a lot of this poem talks about freedom, the desire, the desperate desire for freedom that a lot of these people would have felt.